You're not in a dead bedroom. Dead would be obvious. Dead would scream, argue, accuse, collapse. What you're in is quieter than that, more dangerous. She still sleeps next to you. Her body is still there, close enough to touch, close enough to confuse you into thinking nothing has changed. She still says she's tired, still says work was long, still says everything's fine, in that soft, practiced tone that ends conversations instead of opening them. And you accept it, because there's no visible fire to put out, no disaster to fix, just a slow, almost invisible absence you can't quite name. Something is gone, but nothing is broken enough to point at. This is where most men lose the plot. You're wired to believe desire dies loudly. Fights, rejection, cold words, slammed doors. But women don't exit that way. Desire doesn't explode, it recedes. It learns how to disappear without causing a scene. The most dangerous moment in a marriage is not when she's angry, because anger is still energy aimed at you. Anger means she cares enough to collide. Calm is different. Calm is controlled. Calm is polite. Calm is what happens when her nervous system stops reaching for you and starts conserving itself. When she no longer needs to react, explain, or demand. Because anger means emotion. Calm means withdrawal. And here's the part men never hear until it's too late. By the time you finally sense the silence, by the time you feel that something essential has slipped out of the room, she didn't just leave the moment. She left the desire long before. That silence you felt in the beginning didn't come from nowhere. It was built on a belief you were taught to trust. A belief that sounds reasonable, mature, responsible. If we're still having sex regularly, everything must be fine. If the house is calm, the bills are paid, and no one is yelling, desire will take care of itself. If I'm a good husband, present, loyal, stable, that should be enough. You didn't invent this logic. It was handed to you by movies, therapists, and well-meaning people who never had to live inside your marriage. And on the surface, it works. There's no crisis, no emergency. Just routine intimacy that checks the box and reassures you that nothing is wrong. But that reassurance is the trap. Because sex frequency is not desire, it's access, it's availability, it's habit, and safety is not attraction. Safety is what desire rests on after it's already alive, not what brings it into existence. Here's where the psychology splits. Men are trained to optimize for peace. You reduce friction. You smooth the edges. You become predictable because predictability feels like security. You think harmony equals connection. But women don't experience desire through peace. They experience it through polarity, through contrast, through emotional charge, through the feeling that something is still unresolved, still alive, still capable of surprising her nervous system. While you were building stability, she was slowly losing sensation. You thought consistency was love. Her nervous system experienced it as sedation. This is why the narrative fails without ever announcing its failure. You didn't stop showing up. You didn't stop caring. You didn't stop being reliable. And from your perspective, nothing justified the distance that followed. But desire doesn't respond to logic. It responds to activation. When everything becomes smooth, safe, and emotionally neutral, there's nothing left for her body to wake up to. No edge, no tension, no spark that demands attention. So the lie isn't that you didn't do enough. The lie is that doing everything right would keep desire alive. In reality, you unknowingly optimized for calm, while attraction quietly starved. And because no one ever told you this, you kept mistaking order for intimacy until the quiet became impossible to ignore. The real problem isn't that you stopped having sex. It's that sex stopped requiring anything from her. It became predictable in rhythm, predictable in outcome, predictable in emotional temperature. Nothing unexpected, nothing unresolved. Nothing that asked her nervous system to lean forward instead of lying flat. It wasn't bad. That's the danger. It was functional, clean, emotionally neutral. The kind of intimacy that fits neatly into routine without disturbing anything else in her life. No tension to navigate, no risk to feel, no uncertainty to respond to, no emotional exposure that might cost her something. And when intimacy costs nothing, it activates nothing. This is what safe really means in psychological terms. Not gentle, not respectful. Safe means contained. It means nothing could go wrong because nothing meaningful is happening. You know how it starts. You know how it ends. You know exactly who you're supposed to be in the moment, and so does she. There's no edge where desire can grip, no moment where her body has to decide, no space where emotion might escape control. And that's where desire suffocates, because desire feeds on activation, on stakes, on the feeling that something is alive enough to demand attention. Safety deactivates. It tells the nervous system there's nothing to respond to, nothing to wake up for, nothing that requires presence. This isn't about aggression. It's not about dominance games, shock value, or trying to be bad. That's the shallow misunderstanding men fall into when they sense something is missing. The truth runs deeper. It's about emotional stakes, about whether intimacy asks her to feel, risk, respond, or reveal. When nothing is at stake, nothing is felt. Her body shows up. Her mind clocks out. And you mistake participation for desire because no one ever taught you the difference. From your side, it feels cooperative, smooth, almost respectful. From hers, it feels anesthetic. There's no reason for anticipation, no reason for tension to build, no reason for imagination to engage. You didn't take anything away from her. You removed the very conditions that made desire possible. And because it happened gradually, quietly, politely. Neither of you named it out loud. You just kept showing up to something that asked less and less of her, until one day, her hunger didn't disappear. It simply stopped being needed. She doesn't talk about this because speaking it would cost her something she's spent her entire life protecting. Not you, herself. There's a quiet shame wrapped around wanting more than what looks good enough on paper. From the outside, the relationship works. You're not cruel. You're not absent. You didn't betray her. So how does she explain a hunger that has no socially acceptable villain? How does she admit that safety, the very thing she's supposed to value most, is also the thing numbing her out? Saying it out loud would make her sound ungrateful, unstable, or impossible to satisfy. And she knows how that story ends. There's also the fear of hurting you, not in a dramatic sense, but in a slow, corrosive one. Because once she names it, you can't unhear it. You'll try to fix it. You'll personalize it. You'll turn her internal conflict into your responsibility. And she doesn't want to be the woman who breaks a good man by admitting that good isn't what her nervous system responds to anymore. So she chooses silence over confrontation, numbness over explanation. She doesn't lie to you. She edits herself, carefully, repeatedly, until even she forgets what the unedited version felt like. Then there's judgment, not just from you, but from the image she carries of herself. Women are taught early which desires are acceptable and which ones make them dangerous, selfish, or too much. Wanting stability is praised. Wanting intensity is suspect. Wanting safety is mature. Wanting activation is reckless. So when those two collide inside her, she sacrifices the one that threatens her moral identity. She would rather lose desire than lose the story that she is loyal, grounded, and good. This is the part men misread as indifference. It's not indifference. It's self-suppression. It's easier to feel numb than to admit hunger. Easier to say, "I'm tired," than to say, "I don't feel alive." Easier to let desire quietly atrophy than to risk becoming the bad woman who wants something she can't justify. And over time, that choice becomes automatic. The silence thickens. The editing becomes permanent. And by the time you notice what's missing, she's already trained herself not to reach for it anymore. The shift doesn't announce itself. There's no argument, no rejection, no clear moment you can point to and say, "This is where it changed." That's why most men miss it. What replaces desire isn't refusal, it's cooperation. Sex still happens, but it feels organized, timed, mutually agreed upon in the same way chores are. She shows up, participates, does her part. From the outside, it looks functional. From the inside, it's hollow. Mutual desire has friction. It has pull. Cooperation doesn't. Cooperation is what happens when there's no internal resistance left to overcome. She's present, but not responsive. Her body is there, but it's not leading anything. You notice it in small ways you can't quite articulate. The way she doesn't react before you touch her, only after. The way her responses feel delayed, almost rehearsed. She's not pushing back, but she's not pulling you in either. There's no spark of anticipation, no moment where you feel her choosing you in real time. It's not cold, it's neutral. And neutral is far more dangerous than cold, because neutral feels like nothing is wrong. Over time, she initiates less. Not suddenly, not dramatically. Just enough that you adjust without questioning it. You tell yourself she's busy, tired, stressed. You don't press, because pressing would create tension, and tension feel like the enemy. But the absence of explanation isn't accidental. If she explained it, she'd have to feel it. And she's already learned not to. So intimacy becomes efficient, streamlined, predictable. It starts, progresses, and ends without any emotional disruption. No mess, no risk, no charge. Here's the reframe most men never hear. This isn't a lack of libido. Her desire didn't shut down. It went dormant because it wasn't needed anymore. There's nothing in the interaction that requires it. No uncertainty to navigate. No emotional edge to respond to. No reason for her nervous system to mobilize. She didn't stop wanting sex. She stopped needing it. And that's the moment boredom actually sets in. Not when she says no, but when she no longer has to say yes. When intimacy asks nothing from her, costs her nothing, and activates nothing. From your side, it feels calm, manageable, stable. From hers, it feels like repetition without sensation. And because nothing is technically wrong, you keep moving forward, unaware that the most important signal already passed you by. Quietly, politely, without ever asking for your attention. When you finally sense the distance, your instinct doesn't tell you to pull back. It tells you to close the gap. You try harder. You become more attentive, more agreeable, more available. You smooth your tone. You remove friction wherever it might exist. You think desire is fragile, so you treat it gently, carefully, like something that might break if you move the wrong way. You become nicer, safer, easier to live with. And from your perspective, this feels like love. It feels responsible. It feels mature. But psychologically, it's the exact move that accelerates the loss. Because desire doesn't grow from reassurance. It grows from contrast, from tension, from polarity. When you sense her pulling away and respond by becoming even more predictable, you erase the last remaining edges that might have activated her. You turn uncertainty into certainty. You turn friction into comfort. And comfort is the enemy of imagination. When nothing in you resists, challenges, or surprises, there's nothing for her nervous system to engage with. You don't create safety. You create flatness. Here's the part that's hard to accept. The more you try to make her feel comfortable, the less she feels anything at all. Your increased effort doesn't read as desire. It reads as accommodation, as availability without cost, as presence without tension. You think you're meeting her where she is. In reality, you're collapsing the space that allowed desire to breathe in the first place. Polarity requires difference. It requires two distinct forces interacting. When you remove that difference in the name of harmony, attraction quietly evaporates. Certainty kills imagination because imagination feeds on the unknown. When she knows exactly who you are in every moment, exactly how you'll respond, exactly what the interaction will feel like before it happens, her mind stops reaching. There's no anticipation, no internal movement, no reason for desire to activate ahead of time. And the cruel irony is that your effort makes her feel more secure, while simultaneously making her feel less alive. This is the truth most men never hear until it's too late. You didn't lose her by failing. You lost her by overcorrecting. You became reliable and disappeared. Not physically, not emotionally, but energetically. The man she once had to respond to, feel around, lean toward, that man dissolved into someone she could predict completely. And when there's nothing left to respond to, desire doesn't fight back. It simply stops showing up. Here's the uncomfortable truth most men never want to look at, because it has nothing to do with culture, trends, or modern dating theories. It's biological. Female desire does not respond to comfort. It doesn't wake up for obligation. It doesn't ignite because something is routine or fair or earned. Desire responds to emotional charge, to stimulus, to aliveness. And when that charge disappears, no amount of correctness can bring it back. Her nervous system isn't evaluating whether you're a good man. It's reacting to whether there's anything in the interaction that creates internal movement. Comfort tells the body to rest. Routine tells it to conserve. Obligation tells it to comply. None of those states activate desire. They deactivate it. That's why a relationship can be peaceful, respectful, and emotionally safe, yet completely devoid of heat. Nothing is wrong on paper, but nothing is alive in her body. And desire lives in the body first, long before it ever reaches language or logic. This is not about disrespect. It's not about manipulation, power games, or manufactured chaos. Those are cheap imitations men reach for when they sense something missing but don't understand the mechanism. Real activation doesn't come from cruelty or instability. It comes from edges, from moments that are not fully settled, from emotional presence that isn't prepackaged or guaranteed. Aliveness means something is still unfolding, still responsive, still capable of surprising her nervous system instead of sedating it. Here's the line most men struggle with because it feels unfair. Her desire doesn't wake up for what she already owns. Ownership implies certainty, predictability, completion. And completion is the end of tension. Desire wakes up for what still has edges, for what isn't fully resolved, for what requires her to engage, feel, and respond in real time. When everything is locked in, defined, and safe, there's nothing left for her body to do. You didn't lose her desire because you became worse. You lost it because you became finished. Too smooth, too known, too resolved. Her biology isn't rebelling against you. It's reacting exactly as it's designed to react. When there's no emotional charge, the system powers down. And because this truth isn't flattering, it's rarely spoken out loud. But it explains everything you've felt and couldn't name. Why peace didn't lead to passion. Why safety didn't lead to hunger. Why the quiet crept in, even though you did everything right. This is the point where most men still think the conversation is about sex. It isn't. Sex is just the symptom that finally becomes visible when everything else has already shifted underneath. What actually eroded wasn't attraction in the bedroom. It was identity outside of it. Desire didn't die because of frequency, technique, or effort. It faded because the man she was responding to slowly stopped existing as a force and became a function. When polarity disappears, a man doesn't become bad. He becomes useful, predictable, necessary. He becomes a provider of outcomes instead of a presence that creates emotional movement. He solves problems. He maintains systems. He keeps things running. And while all of that is valuable, none of it is activating. A function can be appreciated. A force is felt. When she looks at you and knows exactly who you are, exactly what you'll do, exactly how you'll respond, there's nothing left for her to orient toward. You've become part of the environment instead of an energy within it. This is what identity erosion looks like from the inside. You don't feel weak. You feel responsible. You don't feel lost. You feel settled. You step fully into the role, husband, partner, provider, and somewhere along the way, the unresolved edges that once made you distinct get sanded down. You stop creating tension, not because you're afraid, but because you think tension is a problem to eliminate. And in doing so, you unknowingly eliminate the very thing that sustained desire. You become a role, not a tension. A presence that maintains, not one that activates. That's why this was never ever about sex. Sex only reflected the deeper shift. The real loss was polarity, the dynamic contrast between who you are and who she responds to. She didn't marry you for safety alone. She married you because something in you wasn't settled, because there was movement, direction, edge. Because your presence did something to her nervous system that went beyond logic or obligation. When that disappeared, there was nothing left for desire to attach itself to. Not because you failed, but because you finished yourself. And when a man becomes complete, resolved, and entirely predictable, hunger has nowhere to live. When that disappeared, so did her hunger. There's no solution waiting for you at the end of this. No checklist, no steps to follow. Because the truth doesn't empower, it destabilizes. And this one is supposed to. You weren't meant to hear it and feel relieved. You were meant to hear it and feel exposed. Because everything you've just listened to points to a reality most men sense but never articulate. What was lost didn't collapse overnight, and it won't be restored through effort or technique. It disappeared quietly, the moment everything became known, resolved, and safe enough to stop demanding presence. If you're still looking for reassurance, this isn't the place. There's no comfort in knowing that nothing went wrong in the traditional sense, that you didn't neglect her, mistreat her, or fail at your role. In some ways, that's what makes it worse, because it means the erosion happened while you were doing everything you were told to do, while you were building stability, while you were removing risk, while you were trying to protect what you thought mattered most. And all the while, something essential was thinning out beneath the surface, unnoticed because it made no noise. This is where most men want to be told what to do next, how to reverse it, how to fix it. But fixes imply control, and control is the very instinct that flattened the dynamic in the first place. The point isn't to give you answers that let you relax. The point is to leave you with a question you can't unsee. A question about who you became when everything settled, about what disappeared when your life stopped having edges, about whether the calm you built was worth the cost you never agreed to pay. Because desire doesn't respond to being managed. It responds to being confronted by something alive, something unresolved, something that hasn't finished becoming itself. And once that's gone, no amount of logic brings it back. Not reassurance, not effort, not safety. So take this for what it is. Not a warning wrapped in fear, but one wrapped in clarity. The most dangerous thing you can give a woman is everything she can predict.